Burgundy Ballers, welcome back to an episode of the Ballin and Burgundy podcast. Yeah. I got Chris, I got Andrew, and I got a special repeat guest. Yes, sir. It is repeat to end the year. Before we do that, don't forget to like and subscribe here on the channel. Head over to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and now we finally have a Twitter account. Y'all been asking for it for a little bit. We finally have a Twitter or an X account, wherever you want to call it. So head over there at BIB Podcast 22 because someone took the Ballin and Burgundy podcast and go fuck yourself. But that's the point. Besides the point. So like, subscribe, go follow us over there because we got heat content for the rest of the year and the off season. We got tons of plans coming up. But before we even get into that, got to get to our guest. Not only is he a Kick, YouTube, and Twitch streamer, and if you have not seen his streams, get in there. Some of the funniest stuff you will ever see, write, and hear in your life. All right. He is the co-host of the Assiduous podcast with Renee Leclade over on YouTube and on Instagram. Go give that a watch. He is now an author of his first ebook over on CHISELED'S Link will be down in the description. Not only is he the reigning and defending in the clutch world champion. Yeah, you see the gold. You better not call Brock Lesnar because he will find him. You better make sure he is not there. But ladies and gentlemen, not only is he our go-to Pittsburgh guy, but he is the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the chiseled Adonis. Chisel, what's going on?
How's it going? How's it going? Good evening. I'm happy to be here. And you nailed the intro, man. That's a hell of an intro.
I was practicing. I was like, I need to get this right. I got to practice it, get my vocals right. Well, I made it.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
I made it. Chris, Andrew, what's popping, fellas?
Not much. Another week.
Nothing much other than waiting for Sunday's game.
Sunday.
Pretty much our ass kid.
Probably. Well, we're on the same boat here. So, guys, if you're wondering, Chisel's not a Niners fan. He is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Well, this episode is what I'm titling a double header episode. Pause. But a doubleheader episode because we're going to cover Steelers, Seahawks, and Commanders, Niners. Let's hop right into it. Pittsburgh versus Seattle, 4:05 in the land of the 12s in Seattle against Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, JSN, Witherspoon. Now, that's going to be a whole host of injuries on both sides, looking at the injury reports. But, Chisel, how you feeling going into Sunday? Your Steelers taking on those 8-7 Seahawks.
I'm not primarily concerned heavily regarding our defense, despite the fact that we give up gash plays like it's nobody's business. But for whatever reason, when Mike Tomlin knows his backup is against, the wall, somehow he's able to galvanize his team into playing decent, football. And I'm excited for TJ Watt because I expect this to be a multi-sack game, either for him or for Highsmith, because one way or another, I believe the pass rush will be activated for this game. And then, of course, offensively, my biggest concern is, will we be consistent moving the football? Because if our offense performs this week the way they did last week, I think this game should not be an issue. But if it's close, I think the last person with the football will win this game. Because the last 2 weeks, we saw it was Drew Lock, Geno returned, and we saw it was Geno Smith. Take the team down the field, find the end zone for the score, and all of a sudden you find yourself with a W. Seattle's in the same spot that Pittsburgh's in. You cannot afford to lose any game. So it all comes down to who wants it more. For my sake, I'm hoping it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, you guys will have Najee back, and you guys will have Isaac Smalley, the guard you guys picked up in the offseason from the Eagles. But you're going to be without Minka. He didn't practice on Thursday. He didn't practice on Friday, and he's been officially out along with your other safety, Trenton Thompson, and linebacker Eldon Roberts. But the Seahawks are going to be without Jason Peters, a tackle, Frank Clark, the linebacker, and they're going to be with Jamal Adams. You're both essentially your all-pro and Pro Bowl safeties. You're both just egged out.
100%. And the thing with Seattle is you want to be concerned about their passing attack, their aerial attack, because here you have DK on one side, Tyler Lockett on the other side. These are both number one receivers.
Yep.
And although Jason Peters, is out, that man 40 years old, right? So you would assume you've got some youth out there at your left tackle or your right tackle, or those guys are preparing to take that slot. So you would hope that the backup can play at a starter's level. So I'm just hoping that we're able to generate enough of a pass rush to eliminate the deep ball, because Seattle, although they can methodically move the football down the field, they depend on that deep ball to be an option. If it's not an option and Geno has no time, then that changes the entire dynamic of their offense. And on the ground, we cannot allow Kenneth Walker to get go. Because if they have access to the entire playbook, Pittsburgh's in trouble.
Whew. Yeah. Andrew, you were at the Seattle-Washington game. What did you see in person that Pittsburgh might want to attest to?
I absolutely was. That was quite a game. And I sort of follow the Seahawks a little bit. They're sort of probably my number 2 team, so I'm keeping up to pace with them. I mean, that game, really what I saw from them is that they're just a feisty team that is fighting the whole game. They aren't some team that has these like big up and downs throughout the game. They're very consistent in their play, offense and defense. And I think that's been the case for them pretty much this whole year. So that's probably something you can expect against the Steelers. They are in a little bit of a down spot right now. They aren't playing as well as they were a couple weeks ago. And I think both teams have a good chance of winning this game. But they're a young team with lots of talent. Their front office is something that I would dream to have here in Washington, with Witherspoon, with
JSN, Boyamafe.
Dude, I mean, it's just incredible, the talent that they bring in there. So they're a good team. I'm no expert on them or anything, but I feel like they're going to fight hard no matter what. And I think Chiseled made a great point of whoever has the ball at the end of the game has a very good chance of ending up with a W.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they have all those players. I think Russell Wilson for them. That's a whole nother story for another day. Mr. Unlimited being Mr. Limited now, but we can get into that later. Chris, what do you think of going to this Pittsburgh game? Because I touch on Steelers and Seahawks here and there if I see a nice play, or if I'm watching the game, like, damn, it's they looked good. The Bengals game, for whatever reason, they were just on another point. I was watching that while I was caroling when I was watching that game. So I was like, I'm multitask. Jingle bells, touchdown, jingle bells. Like, Chris, what do you think of going into this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about these two teams. I really don't. I just know Pittsburgh definitely has one of the best defenses in the league, as we know it, because clearly they were able to stop Jake Browning and the Bengals last week. No, but Pittsburgh definitely, it's like Chisel said earlier, like, when Mike Tomlin has his back up against the wall, he always seems to find a way to win those games where it's like he most definitely needs a W, and obviously this is one of those games. The only thing that I'm questioning is that is this going to be a game like they had one last week with Mason Rudolph, or is it going to be one of those Mason Rudolph games where when they faced the Browns, I believe, what was that, in 2019, where they just could only put up 7 points? When the helmet incident game, I believe.
2020.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, like I said, I don't know much about these two teams. But I believe Pittsburgh has a pretty good shot. Just got to feed Najee Harris that ball also. Got to get him some blocks, got to get him some big runs there, because I don't know how good Seattle's run defense is, but I know their pass defense for one is good. I mean, even Sam Howell, threw 3 touchdowns on Seattle, but
yeah,
I don't know though. It's gonna be an interesting game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be offensive line play that's going to solidify this whole game, because Seattle can protect the quarterback. Pittsburgh can barely block for Jalen Warren or Najee Harris. I've been accustomed to seeing, and Chisel knows all too well how bad they've been blocking all year. But offensive line, protect Mason Rudolph, and I like the way you said that. Is this going to be a game with Mason Rudolph, or is this going to be a Mason Rudolph game? I like the way you did that. I think Pittsburgh wins just because I like it's Mike Tomlin. at the end of the day. It's either going to be a win, or if he doesn't win this week, he'll win next week. It's going to happen one way or the other. I think Pittsburgh will win. I think Seattle will put up points because you've got to cover DK, JSN, Noah Fant, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. You got to cover a lot of guys, but I think even with Mika out, Patrick P being your starting safety is not going to look as terrible as we're accustomed to seeing. I think Levi Wallace is still there, if I'm not mistaken, at your corner spot. He might be. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think if you put him on JSN, I think you kind of take care of him. And then your linebacking play. I think it's going to be your other one with Miles Jack and with Roberts being out. I think Miles Jack will hopefully take a big step forward. I wanted him at the start of the season, but then he went to Philly and then he retired and then he came back and I was like, just come to Washington. We need help.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping defensively they can, if they eliminate the gash plays and they can generate a pass rush, I think they've got, this game. Because if now, let's just say they were to get Seattle off the field, right? So they don't have a high time of possession. Then they're able to put points on the board to where it just becomes a passing game. You've got a chance because when they gave up 30 unanswered against Indianapolis, it was only a 13-0 lead. That could have easily been 21, 24 points, but they couldn't finish in the end zone. And then they forgot how to play football. So you're hoping that not only defensively can you hold, offensively you score, because that's what really gave them the cushion in the game against Cincinnati, because they were able to continue to score on offense and hold them off on defense. Now you go to the break, it's 24-0. Joe Mixon's a non-factor.
Nope.
So you're hoping you're able to still replicate that same sort of game. And then when it's tight, you stay consistent to where you don't give up those gash plays. So it's a matter of where both teams will bend, because these are bendable teams. Who will break first?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd mix it on my fantasy team and I was sadly let down. My whole team's in a ravage. I had Burrow, I had Tank Dell, Nico Collins, I had Jay Jettas, I had Herbert. I was gutted the entire year. I was tough. I was upset. And what are you talking about? You're on one of the Super Bowls.
I was choking the last 3 weeks. I've lost so many, all injuries. Everyone. Everyone's injured.
Yeah, everyone is injured. Well, speaking of choking, let's talk about our Washington Commanders, because we are a god awful team. I don't know if Chris, Andrew, our viewers watched CHISELED'S Pittsburgh and Arizona reaction. I took that clip of we're just not a good football team and we will not be a good football team the rest of the year. I took that, put the final score of, I believe it was the Dallas and Washington game. I said, wraps up this organization to a T. It's not a good football team at all. I've said this, I think I've said this in your live stream, is if you take that video, you replace Tomlin with Rivera, replace Steelers with Commanders. That's the exact thoughts of this organization from me. Just the exact thoughts. And it won't change.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, especially for you guys being Commanders fans and seeing the lack of the sense of urgency from the front office to compete, because Dallas, for all intents and purposes, they've been a team that can compete, but they've been adding additional people. Like you lose Trevon Diggs, now Deron Bland emerges. You end up trading away Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb evolves, becomes better. Michael Gallup's been injured here and there. Cool. Let's bring in Brandon Cooks. You're just rinse, repeat. Jalen Brown, I believe it was, who was at linebacker. You end up letting him, Jalen Smith, pardon. He was there at linebacker. Let him walk. All right, cool. We'll draft Micah Parsons. Different position, but then you make it work. Van Der Esch now is in a situation where he's done for the year. His career is thrown up in question. I can promise you, Jerry Jones is going to either cut the checkbook or possibly draft somebody to now come on in. Granted, he's been the reason why they haven't been able to go over the hump, but he's kept them relatively competitive, right? And then you have Philly, who's become this juggernaut over the course of the past 2 years. The Giants are up and down. It's the Commanders who's the only team that's in the division that have consistently been bottom feeders, because here you have that one beautiful season in 2020, but then outside of that have not been able to replicate that same level of success. And it seems like the front office just sitting on their hands waiting for something to work. Like, you guys got some good people on the Terry McLaurin is there. You got Allen and Payne, who are there, who probably not going to be together, moving forward for
I
some
don't think
time.
so.
One of them is going to end up leaving.
I think Allen leaves.
Right, probably, because I think he's been in the media talking about he's starting to get sick of it.
Yep.
So, like, you got some guys who are on this team who are able to continually have your team in the right spot to play games, but seems like the front office just doesn't want to bring people in. It's throw some money at people, do something, be willing to break the bank, let the free agents and other guys know, hey, come to Washington. This is where you can win. Like, I just don't, I can't wrap my mind around it, because there's an organization. Nope. You guys got 3 champions. Joe Gibbs had 3 championships in an 8-year span. Was it 82, 87, 91?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, get these legends up in there, talk about the culture of the Commanders, which was the Redskins, and to have you in a situation where you guys can compete.
Yeah, you would think. We've been preaching this all year long. It's get Kerrigan at a linebacking coach.
Right.
Daryl Green just said like 3 weeks ago, if forwards wanted coaching, hit him up. Mm-hmm. Daryl Green, I think, is a Hall of Fame corner right now, or should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's in there.
One of the two. London Fletcher should be a linebacking coach, and they snubbed him this year, and I'm so pissed. But it's gonna happen. It's gonna keep happening. You're gonna keep. Steve Smith Sr. Same ordeal. That's what it is. You bring in Joe Jacoby, be an offensive line coach. That was a Super Bowl winning offensive. But no, I think they watched you a few too many times and said commit to the commitment of consistency, and they said we're gonna be as ass as we can be.
Right. It seems like that's the case. Hell, even call up Santana Moss. Let him be around the what? Where is Art Monk? Get these like, even if they don't want to coach, bring them around the organization so you have the culture that's there. Because oftentimes everybody's like, oh man, you got to have this person come in, coach, have that person come in, coach. Just bring them to the organization. Because naturally you'll start talking about the game and the heydays. You guys were the Hogs in the 80s. Ain't nobody was able to slow down John Riggins when he had the football in his hand. Why don't you have those Hogs show up and talk to those old linemen? Because there's no way they don't sit around watching Commanders games, losing their mind because they've given up the most sacks when they were a squad that not only ran for the most yards, but also protected the quarterback the best. Like, it just seems like the front office doesn't understand culture, and I'll never understand that.
Nope. Andrew Grace, you want to get in here? Because we've been saying it all year.
He gets it, man. He gets it. He gets it. He said it perfectly. That's all I got to say.
100%. No, he said it perfectly. All right, look, the one thing I am going to say, he said something about John Allen and, wanting to leave. And John Allen saying, I'm tired of this, 7 years, da-da-da-da. Bro, Jonathan Allen, how many times I got to say it, man? You better be watching, because I'm going to say it again. If you tired of losing, why don't you get your bum ass up and start doing something? Same thing with you, Deron Payne. We just paid you money in the offseason. Money, and you haven't done nothing. The crazy thing is, who's still our sack leader here, and he's gone? Montez Sweat at 6.5, and he has 6 sacks with the Bears right now, too. Yo, we need to do something. Look, I'm gonna break it down for you like this, all right? I don't know what you're gonna do these next 2 weeks. You're either A, gonna get blown out, B, you're somehow gonna split, or C, by a miracle, you win the last 2 games and mess up the draft like you always do. This is what you need to do. You need to look at what you have and be like, all right, let's see what we have. Bring in some guys. And then, like Chisel said, bring in some of the legends. Let them at least be around, because then these guys will be like, oh, damn, maybe we actually need to do something instead of sit on our bum asses and do something and actually want to win.
Yep.
Got to get back to that,
Even if we just get to a middle of the pack, maybe top 15 defense, cool. Because at least it's something. 2020, top 5 defense. 21, bottom 3. 22, around 20. 20. Oh yeah. Top 10 once we get towards the end of the season. Now, bottom 3. The worst passing defense in the league. And we're gonna pay guys. We paid John Allen 2-ish years ago. Just paid Deron. We were talking all offseason about some, man, Cam Curl's gonna have a breakout season. Man, this kid 7th round draft pick. You were gonna pay him the bank. I can't find him on the field. Unless he's getting blown out and beat by Tyreek Hill, or beat by Marvin Mims, or beat by CD, or beat by Sterling Shepard, or beat by AJ Brown.
Cooper Kupp.
Marquise Brown.
Yep.
I could keep going. Running back, same thing. Tight end, same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, have you guys won a divisional game this season?
No.
I don't think so.
0-5.
0-5. So how does that happen? Like, if the days of, being a 6-10 football team, but winning all of the games in the division, like, those are rivalry games. And you're 0-5, and like, if that doesn't send a message, some shock waves around the organization, I don't know what will. There's no way that should be able to, slide. And if you do, I believe it's the Cowboys that are left for you guys who's in the division.
Week 18.
If you guys go 0-6 in the division, somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to do something. Because where's the pride?
They have no pride. You see, this is the problem. And I'm not, going to try to bring politics into this stuff or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't, try to. But when you get rid of the, when you got rid of the Redskins name, you pretty much had no more pride in those rivalry games. Because, Redskins, Cowboys, that was a true rivalry. Not the Washington football team versus the Cowboys or the Commanders versus the Cowboys. That's just not a rivalry. A true rivalry is the Redskins versus the Cowboys. And to quote Santana Moss, who I heard say this before, well, if you don't make the playoffs, but you beat the Cowboys, it was an okay season. I mean,
yeah. I mean, and Chris, Andrew, you guys were on when we had Mr. Armstrong, Anthony Armstrong, a former receiver for the Redskins back in 2012 and 2011. We had him early in the season. Shout out to him. He said, even if you can beat the Cowboys in a season, or you make it a series, if we get RFK back, make that the 2 games you play at RFK are your division rivals. You will sell out RFK, you will bring legends back, and you will bring a money back to. Nope, can't do it. I'm convinced that Pryor left when Ron did chemotherapy. I'm convinced that's what happened. Convinced.
There you go.
And not to hate on Ron, because Ron, the person, Ron outside of football, nothing but love, respect, hope you're healthy. If this is your last season, go home to your family. Ron, the GM and head coach, I hope you're watching. Get your old ass out of here. All right, you're not Belichick. You're not Carroll. You don't have success behind you. Your last winning season was the Super Bowl when you had Cam. 9 years of this. Almost half my lifetime, you have not had a winning record.
Crazy.
Wild. That's wild. That's like the Jeff Fishers of the world. You're
Yep.
just middle of the pack and refusing to take a step forward. I'm right there with you. Ron Rivera, the person, magnificent person, but this GM/coach, like, you can't rally the truth. Like, this rah-rah kind of coaching that used to work, it just doesn't seem as if it's going to work unless you can get to the players where they are. Like, you got to figure out what makes some players tick, what makes them get up and go. Because it seems like now there's a lot of organizations that got guys who don't really care too much about winning outside of just, winning in their checkbooks.
Yeah.
So as long as their money looking right, or maybe individual statistics looking right, to hell with team success. If we win, that's great. But when we start losing, I'm only looking out for myself. You got to be willing to, rule with an iron fist, Put your foot down when somebody steps out of line from what the culture you're trying to establish is. You got to get up and get them up out of there. You got to be willing to set an example of somebody and willing to get out there and really get going. Like, you take a look at what they got going in Miami. I don't know if you guys been watching some episodes of Hard Knocks or anything of that nature, but Mike McDaniel got them boys ready to play. He may carry himself, you know, like he's just part of the team, part of the boys, but they ready to play for that man. They ready to put it on the line for that dude.
So Lions, same thing.
Same thing with Dan Campbell. That's why I believe he should get that coach of the year. There's a lot of people. I think Kevin Stefanski got a legitimate chance of really getting it. 4 different quarterbacks, but that's a different conversation. But you want to have a head coach that can establish and ignite that feeling from the players. You don't want to just have players just going through the motion like, oh, well, it's another week. We got a game today. Like, people should look, all right, we got the Commanders. Washington's coming into the building this week. We got to make sure this is a 2-10 step kind of game. We got to strap our pads up a little bit tighter because we know it's going to be a fight. You don't hear about that no more. Like, it's crazy. It's really crazy to me because this is a great organization based on the history that's there. Now, granted, Snyder has done a hell of a job driving it into the mud, but still, those who are football purists know Washington is that kind of team. And it's lost that essence. And something's got to give.
Look, I'll say this. You know, you talk about when Snyder drove it into the ground. He absolutely did. You know, but here's the thing. People, when they come to Washington, they're like, oh, it's Washington. I can just come here and get a paycheck. You know who a perfect example of that is? Albert Haynesworth. Laying on the ground on Monday Night Football, November 15th, 2010, against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's like John Gruden said, when you're playing Mike Vick, you're not worried about the scoreboard. You're worried about him basically running all around. You know, and that's what everybody looks at when they come to Washington. They're just like, oh, it's Washington. We can come here and get a paycheck. Or like you said, Chisel, you know, people see Washington on the schedule and they're like, oh, damn, it's Washington. Yeah, we got an easy game, you know, to where back in like the, you know, 80s and 90s, people were like actually a little bit scared of Washington, you know, like, I mean, except unless you were the Giants, Eagles, or Cowboys, you know, I mean, unless your name was Lawrence Taylor on the Giants, then you wasn't scared of nobody. But I mean, that's what everybody has that, or let me put it this way. Everybody that has came to Washington over the past 20 years, they just don't care anymore. You know, this, you know, the DC area from DC, Maryland, and Virginia all used to be a Redskins town. Redskins town, not an NFL town, but a Redskins town, because that was the only team they cared about. Now you don't have that. And that's where Dan Snyder basically, he drove the fans out of the stadium. You know, he basically drove them gone from the team and everything like that. And now because of it, the fans don't want to come back because they don't want nothing to do with the team. Yeah, you could promote all these events, but fans aren't going to show up for the game. Hell, the only reason fans showed up for the game against Kansas City a couple years back was because, A, it was Kansas City, but B, because they were doing the whole Sean Taylor thing.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep.
You know?
It got ruined. It got ruined by Brittany and Jackson.
It did.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the statue they put in is a discount clearance style Foot Locker statue. That's what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, the only reason why we've sold out our home games is because the opposing team comes to town. It's an opposing team home game.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wouldn't Yep. It wouldn't happen in Pittsburgh. You see nothing but terrible towels in Pittsburgh. Maybe a few Bengals, maybe Ravens, because those guys will travel. I mean, you guys just went with this with the Pickens like 2 weeks ago. You couldn't see him block. You couldn't see him catch a ball. Last week, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And not only that, Take a look at Philly when they come down here to FedEx Field. That stadium is green. The only side that's red is the Redskins bench side.
Yeah.
Where all our fans are. Rest of the stadium, green.
Green and white.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's crazy is I bet if they gave away tickets for free, fans probably still would not come out there. That says something about the culture, because it's almost like you guys have become the Los Angeles Chargers kind of situation. Because when they left from San Diego, went to LA, everybody who played against them, their fan base would be the dominant inside of the stadium. Like, you want to have an actual home field advantage where you have noise. Like, right, you can't tell the difference. Chris hit it on the head. You go and take a look at the camera of a FedEx Field game. You see two different colors, and sometimes it's more the other colors than the actual Commanders colors.
Yep.
How does that happen? And what doesn't make sense is you would think it's one thing for fans and the players to recognize. The front office, this is a business here. And you got outsiders that's coming in, and it seemed like you're just fine because tickets are up. Like that it just makes no sense to me.
Nope.
I don't get it.
I mean, hell, look at the year we played against the Cowboys week 2, 2019, with when we had Case Keenum and when we still had the Redskins in. We had 45,000 Dallas Cowboy fans at our stadium that year.
And we only hold like 82. I think we only hold 82,000, if that.
Yeah, if that. Now we probably only hold like 60,000 because they've taken seats out of the whole damn stadium pretty much on the top tier.
Yep.
Because we can't afford to sell out games because they'll black out the games. I mean, hell, look at the Cleveland and Houston game from last week. They blacked that out. And yeah, both teams were doing good, but they still blacked it out. That's basically what we don't have anymore. We don't have home field advantage. And you know when it kind of stopped? It kind of stopped after Jim Zorn's second year here in Washington. I mean, yeah, you sort of got it back, when you had the magical 2012 season with RG3, Mike Shanahan, Alfred Morris, all them guys, because you went on a 7-game win streak, won the division, got a postseason playoff home game. But then after that, it just kind of faded away. I mean, 2015, when you played Green Bay in the playoffs, you sort of had it, but not really. And then, again, it just went away. Then you changed the name, and now it's gone. It basically is. And hell, all you see on people wearing on TV when they show them, like, Washington fans, all you see them is wearing Redskins stuff. You don't even see them wearing Washington football team, Washington Commanders stuff. You just don't. You just see them wearing Redskins stuff. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Yeah. Angie, you want to get in here because you've been quiet.
Man, I don't even know what to say. It's just sad listening to go over all this. I mean, it's just been the pattern for the last so long. I don't even know how many years. I think there's obviously a lot of hope with new ownership that this is all going to change, and I think it will. But it's not, an instant snap of the fingers type thing that's just going to magically happen. It's going to take some change on the team, on the field, and off the field. And we are going to turn it around hopefully soon. Next 3 years, I think, is reasonable. But yeah, it all starts with Caleb Williams, guys.
Hey, come on, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, first of all, you want to look at how to rebuild a franchise. The Lions in the last 3 years, the Texans in the last 2, the Browns in the last 4, the Ravens once they got Lamar, Philly once they got Jalen, missing a few. I mean, look across almost every single division. Jaguars since they got Doug Peterson, and I'm here in Florida. I'm 30 minutes away from Everbank Stadium. They just had a bowl game there. Clemson, Kentucky. Great game. Another rebuild franchise. They did it with T-Law, and he's injured, but they're still cooking. Bengals, once they got Joe Burrow, took him another minute because he got injured, but Bengals, right? You can look at every single division. Jets right now, sort of. Buffalo, sort of. Miami, right? Like almost every single team in the last 8 years has gone through a rebuild outside of Pittsburgh, because it's Mike Tomlin. And they've almost all had success. Us? Nah.
You know what the crazy thing is about Pittsburgh? I'm pretty sure they've only had like 3 coaches in like the last 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like near 60 years. Yeah, 58 years.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you look at Washington, look at how many coaches they have had in the last 20 years.
We burned through coaches, man.
Marty Schottenheimer, North Turner,
Jay Gruden,
Mike Shanahan, Jim Zorn, Joe Gibbs. I mean,
Del Rio.
Del Rio.
Ron Rivera.
I mean,
you had Scott Turner for a few games.
Turner, Bill Callahan.
So there's 10.
The list goes on and on and on.
Yep.
This team, and it's like us Washington fans never catch a break. Now, being a Pittsburgh fan, it must be all nice because they don't have to worry about any drama.
Well.
Unless they got like players like doing off the field issues or contract stuff or anything like that. But other than that, they don't have to deal with really any drama because guess what? Their fans still show up to the game. The product on the field is still good, And I'm gonna point this out. I know I'm rambling on, but I'm gonna point this out. Let's say we either hire Ben Johnson or Jim Harbaugh next year or this offseason, right? And we do horrible. Everybody's gonna be saying, well, it was a rebuild year. This, that, all the other. Guess what? We've been rebuilding since 1993. Before I was alive, Andrew was alive. Pretty sure before Jonathan was alive. Pretty sure maybe before Chisel was alive. Justin, the whole 9. It's just like, how long are we going to keep saying we're rebuilding? Look at Pittsburgh. Hell, I'm pretty sure, what was it? The first couple of years with Mike Tomlin, they beat the Cardinals in the Super Bowl.
Yep, year 2.
Yeah, year 2. I mean, damn, what's it going to take for us to, for us fans who are diehard and stayed loyal, what's it going to take for us, the ones that are left, when are we going to get our turn to go to the playoffs, go to an NFC championship, a Super Bowl, win an NFC championship, win a Super Bowl,
I mean, it would help when you have an offensive line that can block, an offensive coordinator that can call games, a head coach that can call games, a GM, ownership that's not getting, investigated by the United States Congress, cheerleaders that aren't getting, assaulted behind closed doors, tax return forms that actually get sent to the IRS. I could go on and on and on and on.
Yeah. All that is so true, but tracking back to what you were saying about Mike Tomlin, Chiseled, what are your thoughts on him as your coach and whether you think he's going to leave or not?
I think he's an all right coach. He's not terrible, and I can't necessarily say that he's great. I've always sung his praises for years, but there is a little bit of smoke and mirrors in, his success because you had a staple of Ben Roethlisberger that was there for 18 years. And Tomlin was able to get 16 of those years. So with that being the case, 15 of those years, but with that being the case, he was in a position where you have a franchise quarterback. Now, All of Cowher guys had retired. Tomlin had cultivated his team and then unfortunately ran into the hole of injuries at late points in the season. I think the issue with him that I have is the constant hiring within, the system that hasn't been proven to work when there's been better options that are outside. You don't need to keep electing, offensive coordinators from within and promoting from within when they haven't shown success, when there's other available options that's on the outside. The same thing as it pertains to like free agency. Pittsburgh has never been a squad that goes out of their way to go get free agents because of the Steeler way. But now, as you see a lot of those other teams start to grab, free agents, or maybe they're making trades, I look at Mike Tomlin like, oh, wait a minute, we got to adapt with the times. I'm all about being the person that teams have to adapt to, but that's not the case anymore. People see Pittsburgh on the schedule and they're not, you're going to get a hard fought game, but you're not concerned that you're going to lose. You just know they're going to fight, but you're not concerned you're going to lose that game. So with Mike Tomlin, where I am with him is if he's able to adjust and adapt with the times to where he's willing to pursue free agents, perhaps get the organization to throw, a little bit of money at somebody, not go grab all of these savvy veterans, which I do appreciate, but you get people on their back legs. Like we got the last of Joe Hayden. We're squeezing the last out of Patrick Peterson. We got like we brought in Eric Ebron for a couple of years. Like we can get younger guys that are in their prime rather than falling out or just past their prime and attract them to Pittsburgh if we're willing to pay that money or willing to make the trade to do so. Like I was lobbying for Pittsburgh to get their hands on Jalen Ramsey when you knew Los Angeles was getting ready to ship everybody out.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh didn't do that. Like there's a number of different people, like for Tyler Boyd that in Cincinnati, he's been a Pittsburgh guy his whole life. He was born there, played college, all that stuff. You could have made a move to get somebody like that. Like although they're a wide receiver machine, but still have the willingness to go and get guys. Because if you look at Pittsburgh now, nobody's running to go and play in Pittsburgh to play with any of the other players, at least on the offense side. They would be going to Pittsburgh to be coached by Mike Tomlin. So if you're going to be the guy that people want to play with, you got to get in front and look like you're open to recruiting. So that's my thing with him. Just, although I do like him, this year is like the last hurrah because losing to the Cardinals and Patriots back-to-back weeks in the manner that we lost to them and the product of football that we've seen on the field the last couple of years, it hasn't been the Steeler way. And it's on Mike Tomlin to galvanize those guys to play because he's been looking like a deer in the headlights on the sidelines. Like something goes good, something goes bad. He's just there looking incredibly confused. It's not like Belichick, who's like he's locked into the game, no emotion. He's been there, done that. Tomlin looks legitimately confused. That's out there. So to make a long story short, me with him, I would just like to see him make those adjustments and really ignite the essence of what the Steelers used to be.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Chris, Andrew, I know you guys remember earlier in this season, I think it was Tony or it was Rio or one other who said Eric Bieniemy is just a Scott Turner with melanin.
Yes. My favorite quote.
Yep. It's one of the best quotes of the season. As I'm thinking this shit, I'm hearing Chisel and you guys talk, I'm thinking Ron is just Mike Tomlin with no melanin and no emotion.
There it is.
If you think about it, because Ron on the sideline every time just.
Oh, man.
Wait, what do you mean you can be eliminated? Like, exactly. Oh, quote of all the entire last, we can be eliminated. Quote of last season.
God damn, bro, that pissed me off so much. Like honestly, if I was Dan Snyder at that point, I would have just fired him. but Snyder was just like, nah, you know what? I'm on the way out the door. I might as well just keep this guy here,
Exactly. Well, it's not gonna get any easier because we play San Francisco on Sunday. Let's talk about it. 1:00 at home, which means it's gonna be an away game for us if it's at home. I don't think it's a sold out crowd this time for once this season. It's not a sold out crowd. 1 o'clock game at home. We're probably going to wear the burgundy on white or the all burgundy because it's what we do. And we're probably going to, like, I have lost all faith at this rate. Like, Chris, you're normally the excited one. You got enthusiasm. Chill said, early in the year, he never roots against his team, but lately he kind of has to because there's nothing left to put on the field. I'm right there. After the second Giants game and then really after Thanksgiving, I've lost hope. I can't deal with this.
I mean, that was sort of when I lost hope. Was the second Giants game, but like at the same time, I was just kind of like, you know what? If we were to rattle off a few wins somehow, I would, be excited and be like, oh damn, we actually have a shot. But I'm still never gonna root against these guys. That's just not me. Yeah. I mean, like, rooting against your own team. I feel like that's just like dumb, in a sort of way, like even if you're saying, oh yeah, let's lose for a draft pick, but deep down inside, you're like, I don't want to lose. It kind of jacked up my whole week. That
was me last week with the Jets. I was on Bean's podcast or Bean's live stream. Shout out to Green Bean Jets fan. I was on his live stream because I couldn't watch the game out. NFL Plus wouldn't give it to me. Xfinity wouldn't give it to me. Third party sites wouldn't. Like, I couldn't get it anywhere. I was in his stream talking to, some mad trash, about some, hey, it's going to be a very Jets thing for y'all to give us, fourth quarter time, and y'all going to choke, and then we choked. Because it's Ron Rivera. Like, I was in there, but I was giving him stuff. He was giving me stuff. Like, it was a great time. And shout out to them. I love, talking with them. But I was like, every time he said touchdown Jets, I was like, yeah, Jets, deep down. We need to win. I need to win.
I feel that too. I mean, I've been sort of rooting for draft picks, but I still have that, gut feeling. Like, I want to see my team win.
Yeah.
I want to see him play well. But in the end, I'm rooting for a more hopeful future is what I'm telling myself. So,
and let me just say this, okay? Because I already know how it's going to go down. Remember last year when we got a 425 game against Dallas on week 18?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The same thing is going to happen again because Dallas is playing for the division. So don't be surprised if, we see Sunday night Washington or Dallas at Washington 425 game next Sunday because ... Dallas is playing for the NFC East.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh will, get a 425 game also because they're in the midst of a playoff run right now. Is Kenny Pickett supposed to come back next week?
Apparently, he's supposed to, if I'm not mistaken, he is healthy and clear to play for this game. But funny enough, I can't recall if they said he'll start or Mason will start. I believe that Mason will be the starting quarterback, but Kenny Pickett will also be available. Now, the only concern that I have is this is the same sort of situation that you have when you have like a prominent backup to where any sort of adversity that happens in the game, cameras are going to immediately cut to the other quarterback. The crowd is going to say, well, if Mason's having a tough day, a very rough quarter, oh, well, let's just put Kenny in. But then you kill the confidence of the other guy because you don't have that clear-cut guy. So but Pittsburgh got something to play for. So since they're still alive, I believe this game is at 4:05. And then next week, although they're at 1, they can get flexed depending on the situation. Because if Miami beats Baltimore, then week 18 will determine the 1 seed because they'll both have the same record, and Baltimore would have to win to get the 1 seed, or Miami would have to win to get the 1 seed.
So who do you play week 18?
What was that?
Who do you play week 18?
We play Baltimore.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we would have to play and then on top of that, Baltimore would not only have to win, they would need Miami to lose. So then Miami would have to play against Buffalo. And Buffalo, and they also got something to play for too, because if Miami were to lose this week,
they could play for the division.
They could play for the division in week 18. So there's a number of different things that can happen. That's why truly this week 17 is probably going to be the most important week in the NFL, because if the teams that need to win, a number of teams, their chances of possibly either winning divisions or going forward, in the playoff race significantly drops.
Yep. It's this week and next week, because the stat was, I think it was last week, was there was 24 teams still in the hunt for a playoff spot. This week it's down to 7 spots.
And the game my bad.
You're good.
But the Pittsburgh-Seattle game on Sunday, I believe that's also an important, well, obviously it's an important game for Seattle, because if they win and I think a Green Bay-Minnesota tie on Sunday night, Seattle's in the postseason.
Yeah.
So if anything, there's going to be a lot of 425 games come next Sunday, and obviously there's going to be that one Sunday night game come week 18.
Yep. If I forget who said it, but when they talk about Navy SEAL training, talk about Hell Week, this will be Hell Week for the NFL. It's what teams make it, what teams don't make it. It's gonna be hell to pay. And in my opinion, I think Niners make the 1 seed in the NFC, and I think Baltimore makes it in the AFC.
Right.
Yes.
I'm right there with you. And now that I think about it, there's a lot of different, like Las Vegas is still alive.
Yep.
They have to win out and hope if they win out and Kansas City loses out, they win the division. And Kansas City's playing bad football right now. Then you have the Broncos are still alive, despite the fact that they did what they did with Russell Wilson. They're still alive right now.
Yep. The AFC South is all tied at 8-7.
Yeah, they're all tied at 8-7. The only team that's eliminated is Tennessee, but they all have not only a chance at the final with the 7 seed, they also have a chance at the division too. So it's a race to the finish. Like, although there's teams that got an easier path, like I think Jacksonville is playing against a Carolina this week.
Yeah,
but Trevor Lawrence is out.
He's out.
Trevor Lawrence is out, and Bryce Young's been playing good the past couple of weeks. So legitimately, things may look good on paper, but you really don't. It's really any given Sunday, and the teams that have something to play for, they better play with a reckless abandon of this Sunday, because if you don't come to play and you get got, now you need help for the postseason. Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. You don't want to have that happen. You want to control your own destiny.
Yep. Well, right now I think it's Philly. Philly has a division right now. Dallas is at the 5 seed.
Right.
Niners are at the first round bye, because they're all at, I think, 11-4. If I'm not too mistaken.
11-4. They're 11-4.
Same thing with Detroit right now. Detroit has a possible chance of getting that 1 seed.
1 seed.
Yeah. If they win out and the Niners lose just one more game, then because the Niners have a 9-1 conference record.
Yeah.
So they still have that 1 seed, but Detroit got the same record as those guys. And they I think they leaped Philly because Philly had that loss against Dallas. So that's a divisional game that's there. So Detroit's now at that 2 seed that's there. Actually, no, they have a better record than Dallas, because they have Dallas has 5 losses, because Detroit is also 11-4. So with that being the case, Detroit can get that 1 seed if the Niners lose 1 game. And if Detroit gets the 1 seed, now they're really going to be cooking, because I predicted it would be them and the Niners in the NFC Championship before the season. And if they mess around and get there, I'll be cheering for those guys.
Yeah, Lions 11-4, Dallas is 10-5.
And they play tomorrow night.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Or Sunday night, and that's gonna be a damn good game, I think. And I want the Lions to win. I need my if the whole NFC except for us could win, then I could throw in the face of my family. But that's another day for another topic. That's another day. I mean, I've told you guys, I've told Chiseled, I'm the Commanders, sisters Philly, mom's Giants, dad's Dallas. What was saying? Nothing but beef in this household.
Right.
I still got that video. Every once in a while, I'll be like, okay, what's this video? Yep, 2 minutes of laughter right there. I got that. Nothing but laughs. But I this game is just gonna be rough, because I anticipate Niners put up at least a 40 bomb. Because our starting 5 DBs, and Andrew, Chris, you guys saw this, and it's Cameron Curl at safety, Terrell Burt is at safety. You've got Forbes, you've got Tariq Castro Fields, and you've got what's the 5th corner? Because Juice is out, Fuller's out.
Danny?
No, Danny Johnson's not out. No, who was it? I have the
Is
thing
it
right.
Kelly Black?
No. Oh, it's Quan Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So McCaffrey's gonna eat, Debo's gonna eat, Kittle's gonna eat. See, here at Washington, if you have a quarterback who's on the decline, come play us. We'll make him look like an all-pro. All right.
Facts.
Tommy DeVito? No, Brett Favre. All right.
Trevor Siemian?
No, Aaron Rodgers. It happens every single week.
Can I just say this? Like, I really got to say this. I'm sorry, but what the hell is Ron Rivera thinking about starting Jacoby Brissett these last two games when A, he knows that we cannot make the playoffs, B, he basically just destroyed Sam Howell's confidence of being a starter here in Washington, unfortunately. And C, is he trying to get fired that bad to where he's like, oh, well, guess what? I could just mess up the draft picks that they have. You know, and if they win the last two games, they're definitely dropping in the draft. Not that I, want us to lose, but like I said earlier, I want us to win, like regardless if we're in the playoffs or not, still gonna want us to win. But was he thinking of starting Jacoby Brissett? Because if you want to start Jacoby Brissett, why didn't you just do that from the get-go? Why didn't you just do that week 1 against Arizona? Like I get it, you want to see what you had in Howell, but damn though, if you were starting Jacoby, you should have just done it at the beginning of the season.
Yep, you're right, Chris. And the reason he's doing it now is he's doing it for himself. He knows he's going to be fired. And he saw that when Jacoby came in, the offense had a spark that it didn't have before. I think I'm pretty much positive that that's just because of his veteran instinct, and that's all I'm going to put towards. And Ron wants these last two games to at least be close, maybe have a win in here somewhere, so he can go into next offseason saying, hey, I did what I could for this team, but I want another coaching position. I don't think he's going to get another head coaching position. That would be sad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's doing it for himself because he knows the season's over. He's going to be gone. And he saw a spark with Jacoby that he wants in the last two games.
Yep. And Sam wasn't playing well either. Think about it. He was throwing, I think, 2 interceptions both first halves. Yeah, he's been about 2 weeks.
I mean, I get, he's not playing that well. But we got to remember, we have to remember this as Washington fans. A, Sam Howell could have been a first-round pick a couple of years back.
Yeah.
B, he was a 5th-round pick. C, this is basically his rookie season, even though it's his 2nd year in the league. And D, his coaching staff isn't all that good. EB is not calling very good plays. And I'll say EB got exposed here in Washington this year. And you could see it literally on, with the plays he was calling, like the Thanksgiving game against Dallas. Either it was 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1 where he takes the shot for Terry McLaurin down the field. And then he throws a pass in that same game on like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1.
Yep.
And then when we go for it against Philly, I believe when we were up, 14-3 on Philly? Yeah. He goes for it, which I liked. The play calling was just stupid.
It's been bad.
Isn't bad. Well, okay, here's the thing, and then I'll let Chisel and then we'll wrap things up. Is one, we can't keep using this 5th-round pick excuse anymore. Brock Purdy was a 7th-round pick. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. You have Russell was late. Dak Prescott was 3rd. Yep. Dak was a 4th. Kirk Cousins was a 4th at the same year as RG3. So I think after all this, and it's the year of the backup this year. I think it's over half the teams have started a backup every week. or consistently the past few weeks, every single, almost, except for like the division leaders, which was a crazy stat. 2, his offensive line, historically bad.
Yep.
We were on pace for over getting about over 100 sacks a few weeks ago.
118 at
118.
I mean,
historically bad.
I would have taken last year's offensive line.
Yep. That's how bad it is. And then 3, Ron's already, he didn't know he's out of here. So what's it costing him? 4th, EB is trying, but some guys aren't playing for him. Brian Robinson, he's playing for him. Sam, he's playing for him. Gibson and Logan Thomas, he's playing for him. But guys like Jahan, Diami, the offensive line, total just blanked out. And then 5, new ownership. So they're trying to impress new ownership, which then in turn, you look bad and at times. And then what was the other one? I forget the other one. Just go ahead because my mind blanked out.
Because I was thinking, I'm right there with Chris, where I think if you were gonna send in Brissett, you should have sent him in from the get-go. Because if you're going to roll with Sam Howell, which I have no issue with, because there was one point in which he was leading the league in passing, started the season strong, and then had that downturn when the offensive line, although they were giving up sacks, you can only protect them or I should say, the arm talent can only work for so long up until those bruises start to get to you. But what I didn't understand was 2 weeks ago when Howell was, they take him out, they put in Brissett, you had that spark. You started Howell again just to do the same thing the next week.
Yeah.
At that point, now you've killed Howell's confidence. Because what would even be the purpose of turning back to him now? Because back-to-back weeks, you benched him. It's the same thing that happened in New England with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. So, and although, John, you said that the other 3rd round picks and then the 4th round picks and everything of that nature can't use that excuse, which I'm right there with you. If you consider the organization, the pieces that are around, Washington's not like that. San Francisco, they're not like Dallas. They're not like those other spots. So it's almost as if for the Commanders, they look at somebody like Howell, like, oh, great, you got 10 games to impress us. Oh, well, you didn't impress us. Well, we're not even going to give you room to grow. We're on to the next. It's like you got to give somebody a chance to see if they can bounce back in adversity. And considering that you were at one point on pace for 100 sacks, 118. It's like, what do you want this guy to do back there? There's only so much. So for Ron, either you roll with Howell or you roll with Brissett. Don't do any changes. Let them figure it out there. And then you got to fix what's around, because if your offense is, you're having bad play calls, and I watched that Thanksgiving game and Bieniemy's play call, I couldn't understand it. It made no, it seems like for him, he thinks he might, or I should say Ron Rivera, probably down to Eric Bieniemy, they think they have like some sort of scrambling quarterback on 4th and short who could possibly, be like a Jalen Hurts or something. Because whenever it gets like 3rd and manageable, so you're within that 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, oh, they can't figure it out. But give yourself like a 3rd and 7 or something. Now the play call looks somewhat appropriate. May not always work, but it seems like they know their football. So it's short yardage situation. Eric Bieniemy must have thought he was still in Kansas City. And you had Mahomes that was back there, because very questionable play calling in the Commanders games that I saw in short yardage situations. But I'm right there with you, where if you're a front office, and although, you have your Magic Johnsons and so on and so forth that's up in there now, you at least want to try to have some form of consistency that's there. You can't just, oh, well, now we're eliminated, we'll just throw anything up against the wall and see what sticks. It's ridiculous. That's a bad brand of football. And you're begging to not only lose games, but have fans lose interest in the product because you don't know what you're going to see.
Yep. And you're going to lose players that way.
Right. 100%. 100%. Because who would want to stay in organization like that? Well, now I've been doing this all season, and whether I've been good or whether I've been bad, you don't even give me an opportunity to dig myself out of a hole. You immediately on some, all right, we'll get this person out. We'll throw this person up in there, because I can promise you, Sam Howell will probably look at guys like a Jonathan Allen. You'll look at guys who are over there like a Deron Payne or something, but like, hey man, you guys may have had some, good seasons in the past, but what have you done for me lately?
Yep.
If I'm going to get benched for, going out there and stinking up the joint, I would assume the same is going to happen for you.
Yep.
Because they see what's happening in the practice. You know, you can have guys who are rotational guys who's going 100% every single rep. They're not seeing any snaps. But here you got the starters who's not producing, and they're taking up all the snap counts because, oh, well, a contract or whatever. So is it about money or is it about winning? So
yeah,
it's just a situation where they got to look themselves in the mirror and say, what are we? What is this Washington Commanders squad? And figure it out from there.
Well, it's not a good squad. I'll tell you that much. It ain't a good squad. We had pieces, and you trade them away to Chicago, trade them away to San Francisco. Fuller's gonna be free.
Chase Young, you can't call it key piece, man. I'm telling you, you just can't. And you know why I'm saying this, Jonathan. You know why.
I know why you're saying it. But look at the production. Sweat has 6 sacks in Chicago. Chase has another 5 in San Francisco.
Look. Montez Sweat, yes, you can call it key piece because he was actually doing something here in Washington. But it's like Andrew said, when Chase Young was here in Washington, you barely saw him give any effort. That's why I'm like, right there, hell bent between,
Yeah. I don't know. This organization gives me. You think I would be, older. I got the beard going. I got the beard belly. No, I'm 21. I'm hurt. I'm broke and I'm hurt. All right. I can't deal with this shit no more. It's rough. It's pain. Nothing but pain. Well, what's the old Patrick mean? Pain.
So much pain. So much pain.
I'd say wrap things up. We going on for a hot minute. So let's set up some score predictions. Let's set up the Pittsburgh-Seattle game. I'm gonna start with Chisel. What is your score prediction for your Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I don't see another 30 ball happening. That's like their third 30 ball in 3 years. I don't see that happening again. I'm gonna go ahead and say it'll be 20 to 16. 20 to 16. I think Seattle gets a touchdown, 3 field goals. And I think Pittsburgh has 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. Probably one of those touchdowns come by way of the defense. I think TJ Watt forces a fumble or makes an interception. He's going to make a defensive player of the year kind of play.
Yep.
And Pittsburgh should come out on top on the road in Seattle.
Yeah. Andrew, what are you thinking? Because you are the West Coast operative here at BIB. So what are you thinking?
I am the West Coast operative, and I am a slight Seahawks fan. So this may be a little bit biased, but I feel like at home at Lumen Field, Seattle territory, I feel like the Seahawks might sneak this one out. I don't think it's going to be a super high-scoring game. I think both offenses are going to struggle a little bit. Geno lately has been definitely struggling. His passes aren't hitting like they used to. So I'm going to say we get 21-17 Seahawks.
I like that. Chris, what you thinking?
I got Steelers 24-10.
Damn. Alrighty then. Just
Super Bowl 40 score right there.
I like that. I am actually going to go with Pittsburgh on this one. I think if they can just keep the momentum from last week, will that happen? Probably not, because it's Mason Rudolph and it might not happen, but I do have Pittsburgh winning this one. I'm going to go probably 21-18. Keep within a field goal. Boswell has been good this season for Pittsburgh. Not great for fantasy, but good enough for Pittsburgh to keep them in, and I think he'll hit a last-second field goal. That is a la Pittsburgh. Now let's talk about our Commanders and Niners. I'm going to circle back to Chisel on this one. What do you think? I know where this is going to go, but what is your score prediction for Niners Commanders?
Good Lord. Now this is going to be because especially since the Niners came off of an embarrassing loss, you'd think they would go out there and unleash hell. I'm going to say a minimum of about 5 touchdowns scored on the Niners side. So I think they're going to get, let's go 38-24. I think the Brissett will be able to put some points on board. I think it'll be competitive in the third quarter, but the first half is where things could possibly get out of hand. I think if they stay close into the third quarter, then perhaps, something can happen, but I think it's going to be a 38-24 Niners.
All right, I like that. Andrew, what are you thinking?
Man, it's not going to be a good game. I think we already know that. This Niners offense, with arguably being paired with the worst defense in the NFL, is going to be ugly. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
And our struggling offense is going to be hard to predict with the quarterback change. So I really don't know where to go with that. However, the 49ers also have a good defense to match us up with that. So I'm going to say we got a 34-20 game 49ers win.
Yeah, you're right in line with Chiseled on that one. Right in line. Just took 4 points away from each team. Chris, Mr. Optimism, what you got?
Y'all know where I'm going. Look, it don't matter how much I talked bad about this team earlier. Y'all already know where I'm going. I'm going with the Redskins, here, with a score of the 49ers 27 and our Washington Redskins 30. Game-winning field goal by Joey Sly.
All right. I had a feeling you would go with them, Mr. Optimism, as I christened you a few episodes ago. But yeah, the fact that we'll hold San Francisco at under 30 will be a win in and of itself. But I don't want to root against my Commanders. And I know what's going to happen on Sunday. And it's going to be another Chicago Thanksgiving game where we're going to take it and just get absolutely destroyed. Just Riley Reid challenge, just bend over and destroyed, as I put it the past few weeks. But I will go my Commanders. I'm going to tough it out. I'm going to go my Commanders. I'm going to go on the higher end of Chris. I'm going to go 38-35. I do think, think about it. They have two. They have, in my opinion, in the MVP and CMC. You have a top 5 tight end in George Kittle. You have a top 10 wide receiver in Deebo Samuel. You have a top 10 quarterback in Brock Purdy. On the defensive side, Javon Hargrave, Bosa, Warner, Young, Ward, Hufanga. Pieces galore back there. And I think they'll get a defensive touchdown, actually. I think Fred Warner will have a pick six or a fumble recovery.
Pick sixes have been a reoccurring problem recently.
Yep. For Washington, they have been.
Do you think Jacoby's that good? 35 points?
Yeah.
Tell me to bring me my money.
I do think the first half will be an absolute shit show. I do think it'll be like 20-0 halftime. Mm-hmm. But the last 2 weeks, what has happened? Touchdown drive after touchdown drive after field goal drive for Jacoby Brissett in the third and fourth quarter. If we put 35, even let's say if it's 20-10 halftime, right? You put up 25 in 2 quarters. That's about 7-ish drives for us. About 7 drives. You're saying 4 out of those 7 you can't get a score. For us, it's almost impossible at this rate, but it's happens to almost every team. I think it was last week when me and Chris talked about it. Every single drive Jacoby has come in for, except for that last one against the Jets, was a scoring drive. Was a touchdown drive.
Wow.
Yep. I think it'll happen again. I will probably be proven wrong. But it is what it is. But that will wrap things up. Chisel, can't thank you for staying on late on this episode, but we did want to touch on every aspect of both games. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, absolutely, man. This was a joy. I always get a chance to talk football. So I absolutely love that. Whether it's talking Steelers, whether it's talking Commanders, just NFL across the board. It gives me a reason to keep talking about sports. So I appreciate being on, man. I appreciate the hospitality as well.
Absolutely. I try to make them feel welcomed here and not get absolutely bombarded by us Commanders negativity, as I do put it. But guys, don't forget, like, subscribe here on the channel. Head over to Chiseled's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, merch channel. All of it's going to be down in the description. And I talked about that ebook later, and I will pull it up and I will put it on the edit. If you go to Chiseled, AdonisShop.com, the commit to commitment of consistency, how to create a profitable YouTube channel. There's only $10, 10 pesos, 10 dura, as he puts it. It is relative. I got $10 on me right now. I might as well go buy it right now. Go buy it, whether it's a hat, shirt, hoodie, stickers. Go buy it. Go support him, whether it's on Kick, YouTube, Twitch, those football streams, whether it's an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, if you go to after hours, those things get a little wild, but go support him. It's an absolute blast. Chris, Andrew, you guys want to add anything else?
Shut Chase Young down.
Yeah, shut him down. Let's
That's
go
it.
get that W.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, can't go wrong with that. Like I said, like, subscribe, head over to Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and now on Twitter. Go follow us all over there. We're gonna have amazing content, whether it's stories, tweets, polls, mock drafts. You can grade your mock drafts if you want. We're gonna start doing that. Mock and grade the mock drafts. We're gonna start going to that. Draft prospects. We started that with Adam. Shout out to him. But go follow all of us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to stay balling. We'll see y'all out there.